dear students, myself Gangadhar Solanke, and I welcome you all to the MCGM's virtual classroom.
So my dear students, today in standard 8th history, we are going to start with the topic effects of British rule. We have already started this topic and learnt about establishment of East India Company, British and Marathas, subsidiary alliance, Chhatrapati Pratap Singh, and now today we are going to talk about effects of British rule on India. In this we have to cover points: dual government, parliamentary laws, civil services, military and police force, judicial system, equality before law, economic policies of the British, land revenue policy, consequences of new land revenue system, commercialization of agriculture, famine, development in the transport and communication system, decline of traditional industries in India, development of new industries in India, and social and cultural effects. So today, in short or in general, we are going to talk about effects of British rule on India in different fields, like in politics, like in transport, or in social and cultural life of India. So in this, the first point, dual government. Robert Clive in 1765 introduced the dual government system in Bengal. The company undertook the work of revenue collection, whereas the Nawab of Bengal had to maintain law and order. This was known as the dual government system. It means the work was divided. Collection of revenue was in the hands of company, and to maintain law and order was in the hands of Nawab of Bengal. अपने काम को डिवाइड किया और जो मेन था कलेक्शन ऑफ रेवेन्यू वो कंपनी ने अपने हाथ में रखा. बट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस व्हाट हैपेंड, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द इल इफेक्ट्स ऑफ ड्यूअल गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम, money in the form of taxes went in the pockets of the company officers. और जो नवाब था उसके पास एक ही काम रह गया, वो था लॉ एंड ऑर्डर को मेंटेन करना. लेकिन जो रेवेन्यू आ रहा था, जो पैसा आ रहा था, वो सब कंपनी के जो ऑफिसर्स थे उनके पॉकेट में जा रहा था. द मोनोपोली ऑफ ट्रेड इन इंडिया वॉज गिवन टू ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी एंड हेंस many trading companies in England imbibed them. So this was the drawback of dual government, but this drawback was for India, not for the company or for British people. The working system of the company in India received criticism in England, and British Parliament introduced some important laws to keep control over company. Because of this dual government, the next thing which was introduced, parliamentary laws. In this, according to Regulating Act of 1773, the Bengal governor came to be known as the Governor General. And according to this act, Lord Warren Hastings became the Governor General of India. Here you can see. He got the right to control the policies of Mumbai and Madras provinces. A committee of 4 members was set up to assist him. Then in 1784, Pitt's India Act was passed, and according to this act provided for appointment of a permanent board of control for better regulation and management of affairs, the East India Company in India. So in 1813, 1833 and 1853, new laws were passed by the parliament. New laws were passed in 1813, 1833 and 1853 to make certain changes in the working of the company, and in this way there evolved an indirect control of the British government on the administration of East India Company. Now here one thing which is very important to understand, अब धीरे धीरे ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के जो राइट्स थे वो कम हो रहे थे और उसमें ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट का रोल बढ़ रहा था. With the emergence of British rule, a new administrative system got developed in India. In the civil services, military police force and judicial system became the main pillars of British administration in India. Now we'll talk about all these in detail. So the main pillars of British administration, that is civil services, military, police force and judicial system. We'll now see how it worked in India. The first point, civil services. To strengthen the British rule in India, there was a need of bureaucrats. Now here one thing again which is very important to understand. जो भी ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट या कंपनी कर रही थी, that was not for the betterment of India or for the betterment of Indian people. It was to strengthen the British rule. Lord Cornwallis introduced bureaucracy. For the convenience of administration, he divided the British occupied territories into districts. Now today which we have, आज जो अलग अलग डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हमारे देश में हम देखते हैं अलग अलग राज्यों में, it was divided by the Lord Cornwallis. And the district collector, who was the chief of district administration, he was responsible for collection of revenue, giving justice, collection of revenue, maintaining law and order. The officers were appointed through competitive examinations known as Indian Civil Services, that is ICS. The next point in this, military and police force. The duty of military was to safeguard the British occupied regions in India, acquire new territories and break down any revolt against the British in India. So जितनी भी चीज़ें हो रही थी, जितना भी काम हो रहा था, जिसे हम डेवलपमेंट कहेंगे, वो सारी ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट के अच्छाई के लिए हो रही थी. जैसे मिलिट्री एंड पुलिस फोर्स हुआ, बट इट वाज फॉर द सेफ गार्ड ऑफ द ब्रिटिश ऑक्युपाइड रीजन्स, और अगर उन्हें कोई नई टेरिटरी चाहिए तो उसके लिए, और अगर कहीं पर रिवॉल्ट हो रहा है तो उसे रोकने के लिए. टू मेंटेन लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इन द कंट्री was the duty of the police force, and this law and order was for the British government. Then the next thing, judicial system. The British established a new judicial system in India on the basis of judicial system in England. Every district had a civil and criminal court to solve the local cases. For reconsideration of their judgments, a high court was established. लोकल केसेस अगर होंगी तो लोकल लेवल पे सॉल्व हो जाएंगी, और अगर ऐसे लगता है किसी केस में कि उसके साथ जस्टिस नहीं हुआ है, फॉर दैट देयर वाज हाई कोर्ट. Next thing, equality before law. In early times, law in India differed from place to place. There was difference in judgment on the basis of casteism. As we know, different panchayats were there, and these panchayats had right to give judgments on any case or disputes among that particular caste or of that particular religion or of that particular region. So, under the leadership of Lord Macaulay, a committee was set up to create the code of law, and the Indian Penal Code was introduced all over British India with British principle of equality before law. No caste, no religion, no rich and poor, no discrimination on the basis of any birthplace or anything else. Everyone same or equal in front of law. But there were some defects in it. There were separate codes and different laws for the Europeans. New laws were difficult to be understood by common people. Legal cases became an expensive affair for the community, and the cases remained pending for years together. Economic policies of the British. Again, the same thing. Economic policies not for Indians but for the betterment of British. Since ancient times, there were invasions in India. Many invaders settled in India and were absorbed the Indian culture. Even though they ruled here, they never made any changes in the basic Indian economic system. But the Britishers were an exception. What they did? England was a modern nation, and due to revolution, capitalist economy prevailed. Hence, they inculcated an economic system in India which was conducive to economic system in England. And due to this, Britishers gained economic benefit. Again and again same thing. जो भी कुछ हो रहा था उससे बेनिफिट इंडियंस को कम और ब्रिटिशर्स को ज़्यादा मिल रहा था. हियर ऑल्सो इन द न्यू इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसीज ऑफ द ब्रिटिश they were getting economic benefit, but India started facing economic exploitation. लोगों का शोषण हो रहा था. Land revenue policy. Before the British rule, the village economic system was self-sufficient. You people already learnt about this in the lower standards, that the balutedar system was there. Through agriculture and related services, the needs of the village were fulfilled in the village itself. लोगों को गांव से बाहर जाने का काम नहीं पड़ता था. जिसके पास जो है वो किसी और को देने का और उससे हमें जो चाहिए वो लेने का, ऐसा एक सिस्टम इंडिया के विलेजेस में था. लैंड रेवेन्यू was the main source of income of the state, and this revenue was based on the type of cultivated crop. The farmer was exempted from taxation in case of loss of crops. Revenue was mainly collected in the form of grains, not in the form of cash. The farmer's land was not confiscated. But what happened when Britishers jumped into the land revenue policy? To increase income, the British made important changes in the revenue system. Again, stress on this word, to increase income. उनको इनकम बढ़ाना था, और वो इनकम किसके पॉकेट में जा रहा था? कंपनी के ऑफिसर्स के, या फिर directly to the British government. Land was measured, and as per the area of the land, the tax was fixed. Payment of tax was made compulsory in the form of cash. If the farmer failed to pay tax in time, then his land would be confiscated. The British system of land revenue collected differed from place to place, which led to exploitation of all farmers. So in the judicial system, there was exploitation. In the economic policies, there was exploitation. In the land revenue system or in the land revenue policy, there was exploitation by the British government. Consequences of new land revenue system. There were undesirable effects of the new land revenue system on the rural life, because for payment of taxes, Indian farmers started selling the crops at whatever price it received. क्योंकि उन्हें टैक्स देना था और टाइम में ही देना था, and for that they started selling their crops in low prices. The merchants and brokers started purchasing their goods at minimum rate, and at certain times the farmer had to mortgage his land to the money lender for arrangement of money to pay tax. So there was chain of British government and zamindars, and because of all these things, farmer became bankrupt. In case of non-repayment of loan, the farmer had to sell his land. The farmer was exploited by the government, by the zamindar, by the money lenders and merchants. So if you go to this understand through this figure, then the peasants or the farmers were at the low side of the triangle. Then in this, the next one, commercialization of agriculture. Initially, food grains were cultivated by the farmers. It used to fulfill their domestic needs as well as the needs of the village. वो खुद के लिए क्रॉप्स उगाते थे, अपने गांव की ज़रूरतें पूरी हो, बस इतना ही उनका काम था और एक खुशहाल ज़िंदगी वो जीते थे. But the British government started giving more encouragement to cash crops. Why? Because British government needed cash from them. And in that crops like cotton, indigo, tobacco, tea, etc. The process of giving stress on cultivation of profit-giving cash crops instead of food grains is known as the commercialization of agriculture. Then the next, famine. From 1860 to 19th century, India faced great famine, but the British rulers did not take much efforts to overcome it. They were busy in their own profit. Similarly, not much expenditure was made on provision of water supply. सरकार उनकी थी, पूरे रीजन उनके हाथ में थे, लेकिन उन्हें अपने फ़ायदे की पड़ी थी, यहाँ के लोगों के साथ उन्हें कुछ लेना देना नहीं था. Then the development in transport and communication system. Here you can see on the screen, for increase in trade and convenience of administration, the British developed modern facilities like transport and communication in India. In 1853, first railway ran on the route of Mumbai to Thane, and in the same year, British started telegraph system. Due to it all, cities and military stations got connected to one another. Then similarly, the British also started the postal system. Because of all these things, there was development in each field due to the transport, due to telegraph system and due to postal system also. Next one, decline of traditional industries in India. The British government obtained huge taxes on goods exported from India to England. And on the other hand, very less tax was imposed on goods imported from England to India. Again, thing to understand, इंडिया से इंग्लैंड में जो माल जाता था उस पर बहुत ज़्यादा टैक्स लगाया जाता था और वहाँ से इधर जो आता था उस पर बहुत कम टैक्स लगाया जाता था. Also the goods manufactured in England were machine made and hence there was maximum production at minimum cost. And this was due to the development in the field of technology. जहाँ पर हमारे 5 लोग काम कर रहे और 100 चीज़ें बना रहे, वहीं पर उनकी एक मशीन काम कर रही थी और 1000 चीज़ें बना रही थी. सो ये जो डिफरेंस था, बिकॉज ऑफ दैट टू compete with such cheap products was difficult for Indian artisans, and eventually it led to closing down of traditional industries and many artisans became unemployed. Next thing, development of new industries in India. Due to the lack of British support or experience of management and capital, the Indian businessmen could not come forward in large numbers. Yet some of them built up their business by overcoming these problems, and in that, in 1853, Kawasji Nanabhai Davar started the first textile mill in Mumbai in 1853. Then in 1855, the first jute mill was started at Rishra in Bengal. Then in 1907, Jamshedji Tata established the Tata and Steel and Company at Jamshedpur. So in India, coal, metal, sugar, cement and chemical industries came to be started. Then the effects of British rule in the field of social and cultural. In the 19th century Europe, a new era took shape on basis of the values like humanitarianism, democracy, nationalism, liberalism, and this change in West led to obvious repercussion on India that you people already studied in the last chapter. So for this purpose, they started studying the tradition, history, literature as well as music, flora, fauna of India. In 1784, Sir William Jones, an English officer, established Asiatic Society of Bengal at Kolkata. Then Max Muller, a German thinker, was a devout scholar of Indian religion, language and history. Due to these examples, there aroused feelings among newly educated Indians to study Indian religion, history and tradition, and that's why people started studying all these fields. The British introduced many laws in India. In that, in 1829, Lord William Bentinck passed the Sati Prohibition Act. In 1856, Lord Dalhousie passed the Widow Remarriage Act, and these acts were responsible for social reforms. Because of all these laws, people started thinking about the customs and traditions of our country. Then for carrying out administration in India, the British required English educated Indians, and that's why, according to recommendation of Lord Macaulay in 1835, English education started being imparted in India. And through new education, Indians were introduced to Western thoughts, modern reforms, science and technology. in 1857. Universities were established at Kolkata, Mumbai, and Madras. And through these universities, Western education was started. The Western educated middle class Indians led the social reform movement in India. So many things when we talk about the effects of British rule on India, it's positive somewhere, but one thing which we have to keep in mind about all these things, everything what they did was just for the betterment of company, for the betterment of British government. So now today we are going to stop here only, and in the next session we will talk about the freedom struggle of 1857. Subscribe the channel and press bell icon to get notifications.
So my dear students, this is all for today. Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe, take care.